Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Let me start with the basic resin techniques. First, I am going to do a small demo on proper mixing of resin. Before moving on to mixing, I would just want to inform the basic things we need to start with. First and foremost, we have to give safety measures to ourselves. So we have to use a high quality mask, and this is respirator from the brand 3M. This is always suggested by many resin artists, as this won't allow any gas vapors which is harm to us. First we have to use mask. Then, to protect our hands, most of the artists recommend gloves, but few people can have latex allergy. That's the white color gloves. They will have some latex allergy, so they can use nitrile gloves, which is blue in color, you might have seen. But I use this plastic gloves. This is cost effective, it's very cheap, and it's very user friendly. I just bought this in Amazon, it's very cheap. I will share the link in the group. We can use this today. This can fit in almost everyone's hand, so this is universal size. So first, mask and gloves, in these two are must we have to use. Then we can use goggles also to protect our eyes from the fumes of resin. Okay, then moving to instruments, what we need. First, we need a weighing scale to measure how much resin we need to do. Most of the resins are measured by weight only. Only rarely, like 1:1 ratio resins are measured by volume. That is, it is measured using cup. That's 1:1 ratio. But we are going to use 2:1 today, which is measured by weighing scale. Weighing scale, and we can have a paper cup to measure the resin. And this is magnetic leveling tool. As we know, our surface has to be leveled so the resin won't float to any particular direction. So you can buy this. If you need any demo how to use this, just let me know. I will make one separate video for that. Then, as already know, this is a heat gun. This is used to pop up the bubbles. There are various types of resins in the market. Most commonly used are 3:1 ratio and 2:1 ratio resins. Today I am going to use 2:1. That is, this is the resin from Epoch brand. This is 2:1 ratio resin. There are also 3:1 ratio resin in the Epoch brand. This is 3:1. And every manufacturer will mention it like, see, you can see here 900 into 300, that's 3:1 ratio resin. They will just mention the mixing ratio and all the instructions what we need to follow while mixing resin, they will mention here. So I am going to do with 2:1 epoch resin. In these winters, due to climate, cold climate, the resin and hardener will become thick before pouring, so it will generate a lot of bubbles which will destroy our artwork. So we can, what we can do to avoid that winter effects, we can place these resins in a hot water bath. I have taken hot water here. We can touch it, but it should not be like boiling hot water. We just need to keep the bottles in this hot water. I have already kept this for about 15 minutes, so I'm not going to keep again, just informing for you all. Then I always recommend to keep some tissue papers in your workspace, so if any resin drips, we can easily wipe out. Also, I am just using this silicone mat, because whenever we are using any wooden plank or any table, the resin will just stick to it, so we can't remove that easily. But this is a silicone mat, it's easily available in Amazon, so we can use this. Now let's begin measuring. Today I am going to make a 12-inch clock, MDF clock. I have already prepared the clock base. I am going to make with photos, and this is the MDF board. You can see I have just pasted photos of my customer. Also I have stuck the numbers already. I haven't put any resin here. I have just struck the numbers already. Also I have used this tape. This is used to avoid the flowing of resin outside the MDF. I will just show this later. Okay, now we need to know how much resin we need for this project. Since it is 12 inches MDF, we are not going to pour much depth, right? So what I am going to do is I am just sharing my screen using one app. That's a resin calculator app. Just a minute. Yeah, this is the app, resin calculator. You can see which project, which method we are going to use and how much resin we need. Now I am going to do a circle MDF 12 inches. In clock like MDF, we are going to use coating option because casting is like more than 4 or 5 that's like casting, but coating in the sense just giving a layer of resin on the MDF. But in this calculator, when we click coating, it will automatically deduct the depth as 1.5 it's around 1.5 but I don't want that much thickness for my clock, so I'm just going with casting. Now I am going to use 2:1 ratio resin, that's here. Now we can select how much diameter, that's 12 inches MDF I am going to use. I need just 0.5 of thickness I am going to use. So if you give calculate, it will give an approximate value of 40 grams, by which for which we have to use hardener 13 gram and resin 26 gram. Since I am using 2:1 ratio resin, so 2 parts of resin and 1 part of hardener. We can also customize according to the values here. So I am going to take like yeah, 13 and 26. I hope you understand till now. If you have any doubts, ask me while I am mixing, because mixing takes some time. Meanwhile, we can clarify any doubts. Okay. Now we are going to use the measuring scale. Always check before using the measuring scale. Some scale, this cell, the battery won't be sufficiently charged. So always check for the battery once before starting any project. I always used to change the battery so the power will be even and much higher. Okay. Now I am just going to measure using this paper cup. We can also use a plastic cup also, but I am just going to take only little amount of resin and hardener for this project. So I am just going with this small paper cup. If you are going to use any big project like a 9 into 12 inches frame, like that, you can go with plastic mug. It is very user friendly and you can use very well. Just a minute, I have a neighbor calling me. I will be back in a second. Just a minute, I will answer your questions in a while. Just a minute. Yeah, okay. Now I am going to mix the, sorry, I am going to pour the hardener first. I am not going to pour resin first. I am just going to pour the hardener first. Why? Because the hardener will always be in thick consistency other than the resin. So If we pour the hardener first, it will be easy to mix with the resin also. Okay. Please don't use your bare hands, wear gloves. Since I have to operate the mobile here, I am not using gloves now. Also, don't open the hardener bottle and resin bottle too long, because whenever you are keeping your hardener bottle open, the air bubbles will get entrapped. Also, the moisture will come inside the bottle, which will affect your future projects. So always just open and just keep like this. Now I am going to pour 13 gram of hardener. Then pressing the tab button and 26 gram of resin. Just immediately close the bottles, because as I said earlier, the air will get entrapped inside the bottle. Then for mixing purpose, let me try to zoom in. Yeah. I'm going to mix. For mixing, we can use silicone mixing sticks that come in silicone, but I don't have here now, so I'm just going to use this wooden stick, mixing stick. We can see, just wait for a while. I'm just hope you can see now clearly. See, you can see some strands in resin and hardener. There will be some lines. Now you can see clearly. There are some straight lines, right? While mixing resin and hardener, due to chemical reaction, you can see there are some white lines occurring. We have to mix slowly. Also, we have to take we should not take the spatula always out and in. We have to scrape the sides like this, because some unmixed resin or hardener can stick to the sides as well. Also the bottom side, you have to scrape the bottom also. Also the side walls and the bottom, also the rim also we have to mix like the with the edge of the stick. See, the rim of the cup or any paper cup or plastic, we have also need to mix this part. So totally three: one, the side walls and the bottom part, also the rim, that's the edges. Okay, I hope you can understand. We have to slowly mix. You can also mix in any direction. Few people will say we have to just mix in one direction, but I don't see any difference in that, so I always used to mix like this only. Okay, you can ask me any doubt in the chat box. I can answer now. Usually we have to mix like 5 minutes or 3 to 5 minutes. It's based on each manufacturer's instructions. For this, let me take the bottle. Here we can see mix for 5 minutes. They have mentioned here mix for 5 minutes. So I'm just going to set an alarm or approximate time. I'm just going to mix for 5 minutes. It's even better if you work with a light over your project. I'm just using a light above my project because the light will generate some heat. So in winters you just need some heat source which will decrease the formation of bubbles while mixing, also pouring, and also while curing. Okay, now I'm going to answer your. Am I audible now? Please let me know in the chat box. Yeah, okay. Which ratio resin is better for what kind of article? Most commonly, we have two types of resins, that is 3:1 ratio resin and 2:1 ratio resin. Maximum 3:1 resin can be used for casting purposes. That's like for coaster, which are in simple words, wherever we need to use mold, silicon molds, we can use 3:1 ratio resins, because usually for silicon molds we will pour thickness of like 4 mm or 5 or 10 mm and more than that. For those we can use 3:1 ratio resin. For also for keychain we can use 3:1 ratio resins. The main difference between 3:1 and 2:1 ratio resins are 3:1 ratio resins usually cure slowly. It takes a long time to cure, whereas 2:1 ratio resins will cure fastly. Also 2:1 ratio resins will generate a lot of heat also. So it is not much advisable to use 2:1 ratio resins in silicone molds, because when the heat emitting from the resin will affect your silicone mold life. Also 2:1 ratio resins can be used for articles like when we are using MDFs, that's the clock bases like MDF or any acrylic work we are going to use. Also mainly 2:1 ratio resins are meant for coating purposes. So if you are just doing any photo frame or any frame using silicone mold, the base layer we can pour with 3:1 ratio resin, and finally the top coating we can do with 2:1 ratio resin. So usually 2:1 ratio resin will give high glossiness because of its composition. There are a few brands where they will also mention their 2:1 ratio resin can also be used for casting purposes. I also have few brands. I will show their bottles after this demo. It's not over coating, it's top coating, which means we are just coating the project. Any mold which, yeah, for over coating, I mean just top coating, we can use 2:1 ratio resin. Okay, but you have to demold the art piece, then only you can easily coat. Okay, within the mold you can coat, but it will be very much easy if you demold the project and then you can do a top coat. But before doing top coat, you can just sand the upper surface of the casting. If you have any other doubts, just ask me. Now we can see the resin is totally clear. There is no streaks. It's totally clear. You can see that it's totally transparent. Now we can use and we immediately don't pour this resin in anymore, because this resin don't have much bubbles while mixing, whereas few resins will have a lot of bubbles even while mixing. So what I suggest to do is just simply wait for 10 more minutes. Just rest the resin container for 10 more minutes, then the bubbles will come up. So you can simply pop those bubbles with the help of heat gun or isopropyl alcohol, that is the bubble buster. You can simply press a single bubble spray, so the bubbles which rises up can pop up. But this resin is good for me. You can't see any bubbles. It's totally free of bubbles. I hope this session will be okay for you. No, what do you mean by mirror? You are meaning, sorry, you are going to do a mirror or with resin, right? Also, this heat won't damage any objects like mirror or wood, anything. That much heat won't be produced in this resin. Only 2:1 ratio or even 3:1 ratio of few brands can get overheat. Most people will buy cheaper resins that are available in market, which like 1 kg for just 650 750 rupees. Those resins are not especially meant for our resin arts, that is epoxy resins. There are also industrial resins which they use for home furnishing and factory purposes. They use different types of resin. There are totally different types of resin: polyurethane and something like that. But this is formulated especially for art and craft purpose. So only a few brands you can just blindly buy and use. I'm having few more resin brands. I will just show you later. So overheating won't damage any articles like mirror, wood, etc. If you have any other doubt, also ask me. I think this is totally clear and we are good to go, and I can pour this. Yeah, okay. I'm going to end this session now, because due to time constraint in Zoom Meet, only 40 minutes is possible. So this is just a mixing tutorial, how to mix properly. Main things to be considered are, we have to mix in a warmer area, not in a colder area. Okay. Thank you for joining. I will just end this meeting now. I think I have recorded this meeting. If it's recorded, I will just upload in my YouTube channel and I will share the link later. If you guys have any other doubt in any projects, articles, you just let me know in the group also. I will try to make a separate Zoom session for that also. Okay. Okay. Thank you for joining. Thank you.